Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Joey Tabor. Today I am joined by four guests from all corners of the United States, and I have Huzzy from England. Today we're going to talk about LVG in versus LVG out. I've done my best. I've got two LVG outs. One's LVG get the fuck out. And I have two LVG ins. So I'm going to be playing the part of a neutral host. However, I have my opinions on that in the previous video I did. If you want to check that out, I'll put the link in the description. So first up, I'm going to go from left to right on my screen. From England, Huzzy, how you doing?
I'm alright. What about you, Joey?
I'm very good. Getting ready for Christmas, getting ready to hopefully watch United win on Saturday against Norwich. Nate, how are you
Yeah.
doing? Nate's at Starbucks waging war on Christmas.
Yeah, I got Merry Christmas put on my water cup. Oh, wait, I didn't actually. Never mind. Doing good, man. Merry Christmas to all you guys. Let's do this.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Pasha, how you doing? Pasha, the other half of the Foul Mouth Yanks.
Good, man. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to talk to you guys about this controversial topic that's been going around. So I get your insights on it, and yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's crazy because, I haven't seen. I mean, I remember the Moyes days, and they were bad, and towards the end, I think everybody was it was 95-5. But now, I mean, I just can't believe so quickly this season, even given the league place standing, how many people are LVG out. It's got me a bit surprised. And then we have Sean from New Jersey, who's also going to be trying out for the new Hobbit movie. How you doing, Sean?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm all right. So, Sean, I'm going to stick with you. You're LVG out right now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so convince someone who is on the fence right now. They're borderline LVG in, LVG out. They don't know which way they want to lean. Convince them why you think LVG should have to go right now at this moment.
Look, the main thing I think right now is that this market in the next 6 months is going to be incredibly competitive for head coaches. Obviously Pep Guardiola is leaving Bayern Munich. I think that's pretty much well known today. Looks like Carlo Ancelotti is going to go there, but obviously until he does, he's still available. But Chelsea is getting to the point where that's untenable. I mean, Mourinho throws people under the bus left and right. So the longer United waits to do this, the worse it's going to get. I mean, there's going to be guys available, and if you know this isn't working, and it doesn't seem like it is, and the stuff coming from the camps, the stuff coming from the players, the stuff coming from the media, it's just so negative right now. Everybody, the players don't like the style, the players don't want to do this. They're questioning the substitutions, they're questioning the style of play, the fans are questioning the style of play. At some point, you have to just say, listen, this isn't working. I mean, I guess if you want to give them until whatever, you can. But the problem is, the longer you give this guy, and if it continues to go this way and it doesn't work, the more chance somebody else makes their move first and signs the managers that you want. And the problem is, look, there's a lot of people that want Ryan Giggs to be the next manager, and just like. He's never managed. He's got to go. He should have taken, if he had a chance, take the Swansea job. Or you see what Gary Neville's doing. He's got to get some experience just to be thrown into this where it's just a disaster for 3 years and have him come in and be the savior. Man, I mean, that's really tough. But I just think if it's not working, and it just doesn't seem like it is, I mean, it's just, you can watch. When you're watching these matches, it's just terrible to watch. It's terrible. If you're a fan of attacking football, it's so bad. They play possession with no. I mean, you can watch Barcelona play. They move the ball, and then ball goes over the top, and it's a goal, and they have attacking players. They got to do something, and the longer they wait to do something, the less chance there's going to be that there's going to be an elite manager. And the problem is, if you get somebody else that's just not an elite manager in this next job, I mean, it's just, what's going to change? There's a lot of problems with the club right now. It's not just the manager. It's, the players aren't good enough. There's a lot of players that aren't good enough. There's a lot of things. But I think the manager at the top of the thing, it's so negative right now that there has to be some kind of change. And that's the main thing. And if the longer they wait, the longer, the tougher it's going to be to get someone that's, the main guy.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think I agree with I'm going to try and stay as neutral as I can. I agree that the next manager has to be elite. I don't think you can take a chance on Ryan Giggs because you took a chance on David Moyes, and we're still recovering from it. So I agree with you there. So, Pasha, I want you to respond to Sean. Sean says that the attacking football, I mean, it's hard to argue with him. United create the least amount of shots per pass, the least amount of chances in the Premier League. It is very dull to watch. So I want you just to respond just on what Sean said. How would you counter Sean's argument since actually LVG in to let everyone know?
Sean says that LVG out, get the fuck out, but if you do that and right now you're in transition, who are you going to replace? You can't just, we're right now in a transition, you can't just suddenly just say, oh, I'm just going to be LVG out, it doesn't make any sense in a position that who you're going to replace immediately is my question, And if you're going to come and say Carlo Ancelotti's not going to take this side middle of the season currently, just the man he is. And as we know, Pep Guardiola and Carlo Ancelotti and Mourinho, they're managers that are like nomads. They take over big projects that they see as a good project. They don't have time to rebuild the squad. So after when Moyes was done, Moyes inherited the champions, right? LVG inherited the 17, a club that was in the 7th place, so it takes time to, the money that he spent, the players that he got out, which, yes, you could argue that why didn't he replace him quicker and stuff, but it takes time, everything takes time. Yes, the football is dull, but once again, if you think about it, last year before we played Tottenham, there were so many of us United fans that were like, oh, we're not going to make top 4 before even we played Tottenham, and when we went on that streak, it was brilliant to see we played some quality football. But yes, I do agree that the football has been dull, but once again, my argument is that, which nobody wants to bring it up because everybody seems afraid, is that, look, the Glazers hid under Sir Alex Ferguson for many years. When we saw Cristiano Ronaldo and all these some of these elite, who did he sign? He brought Antonio Valens and Michael Owen in. That's the only type of manager that could get best out of his own average players. We should have been spent every single year, but we didn't because the Glazers were riding under Sir Alex Ferguson. So all those problems that in the past that we should have resolved, which we didn't because of the brilliance of that man, right? It's on till this day. David Moyes, he didn't trust the staff for Sir Alex Ferguson. He was just getting cocky. He got rid of them. Didn't sign anyone because maybe the board didn't trust him with money. And look at the amount of problems that piled up that the man had to get replaced and had to install. Last season we had a lot of issues in the back 4, but now look at how much we've impressed. Look at the quality players we brought in. Do you honestly think Bastian Schweinsteiger, all these players, like especially Bastian Schweinsteiger, would have joined our club just because it's Manchester United? No, because he joined because he knew he's going to have a chance in Euro 2016. He worked with Louis van Gaal. It takes time, but today modern football fans, they don't have any time. But my argument is that you can't just say you're LVG out without a proper replacement. But yes, if Pep Guardiola is available during summer, of course it'll be crazy for United not to go in for him. But at the same time, you got to think about the transition. He fixed the issues that we were dealing with, right? Against Wolfsburg, against Bournemouth, Fellaini is not a natural CM. So we played one defensive midfielder. We got bulldozed, right? We got molested, basically. That's why he's playing with 2 defensive midfielders, as we saw. That's why I was always criticizing. Like, why don't you just play with 1 defensive midfielder? As you could see, we got overrun, right? So we have a lot of issues that he needs to fix. And right now, honestly, we're just playing with a bunch of kids. There's too much injuries right now, right? Yes, the football is all this position style of game, but once again, you can't always expect every single manager that's going to come to United to play that style of play that United wants to play. Those good old times is over. And every single time, man, oh, look at what Sir Alex Ferguson. You can't always talk about Sir Alex Ferguson. By the time I'm 80, I'm going to go talk about, oh, look, remember what Sir Alex Ferguson did when I was a little kid to my little grandsons? Fuck no. It's time to think that the past is over. And for me, when people say Louis van Gaal out, my question to them is you can't say LVG out right now when you don't have a replacement. Because if you're going to bring somebody in, you think Ryan Giggs is going to do a good job just because he's been no, because he hasn't managed anyone, like Sean said. You can't just depend on the longevity of a player because he's been a legend. Shoot, does that mean Nicky Butt could become the greatest manager of all time because he's been, part of United class of '92? David Beckham? No, it takes time, and I think that the whole point of Louis Van Gaal was to come into the squad, rebuild this team, leave a foundation for this club, and give it onto somebody else. The next managerial appointment is crucial. If it's going to be Ryan Giggs, I'll tell you we're going to be back to square one because Ryan Giggs is a big, big gamble. It's a big, big gamble. If that whole foundation would be wasted.
Yeah, I mean, again, I reiterate what you just said and what Sean just said about Ryan Giggs. I don't think is ready. I think he should take the Swansea job or move abroad. You talked about the injuries. First couple months when he first came, tons of them. I think almost a record-breaking amount for a team. And you saw that this year. So some of that blame has to go on him and Ed Woodward for. I understand releasing all these players, Chicharito, Van Persie, Nani. I understand it because they weren't performing. They weren't performing for David Moyes and even Nani going back even longer than that. So I can understand that. But it is also their job to provide adequate cover. So, Nate, respond to Pasha and also give your feelings on LVG out. And like Pasha said, I think if you're gonna sack him, are you gonna put Giggs in charge, or do you have someone else in mind? Because I know it's easy to sit here and say, oh, Carlo Ancelotti, but I've read a article with a direct quote from him saying I wouldn't take any job right now. I would wait till the end of the season. So I think that at minimum, top 4 has to be the objective. That's a bare minimum this season.
Well, I think that's probably the part that's the most frustrating for me is that our season objectives, which when you're rebuilding, which we definitely are, that's got to be a goal. But it's too eerily similar to what happened to Liverpool, to the boat Arsenal are in every year, save for the fact that for now we've got Van Gaal, who, yeah, I think he was brought in for a specific reason. He's a tough cookie. The Iron Tulip doesn't put up with any shit, and now the problem is that his stubbornness, I think, has isolated him from everything. It's put him closer to the board and obviously to Ed Woodward, but further from his players, and the board doesn't take the pitch every week. Last season, Tottenham, we were playing kind of like we were wondering what's going on. Then we hit that great run of form. We changed it up, went to a 4-3-3. We were scoring some goals, and obviously we beat some teams we honestly didn't think we were going to beat. So that could happen again, but my question is okay, yes, maybe we do that for the rest of the season, but is that what we're resigned to now, is hoping that we can catch fire for 3 or 4 matches and survive enough to catch into the top 4? I'm with Sean in thinking that you have to look at the whole landscape of football. Yes, it would be great to say Sir Alex Ferguson this and Sir Alex Ferguson that. He was a one-off in almost everything. He doesn't fit the mold of coaches. He lasted longer than almost any coach out there at one club for the amount of success he had. So many trophies, 50-plus trophies. It's a lot of success for one guy. And as for me, I don't want LVG to leave. I don't want there to be constant movement. I want him to succeed. I want him to come in and be successful. But once you lose your dressing room, once your players are starting to question things, when your players, dude, we got hamstrings and groins popping left and right. He's training them twice a day. And then we've got the busy Christmas season coming up. We don't have a winter break to rest. We don't have 3-4 weeks where we can sit back and rest up our players. And I think that I don't know, he's caught himself. Maybe he thought he could do things that he couldn't. Maybe he expected more from the squad than he's gotten. There's so many questions. But the underinvestment for years is a huge one. But then the biggest question is, yeah, I'm LVG out. But if I am LVG out now, who's next? Warren Joyce, Ryan Giggs, those are really your only 2 choices if you're going to let him go right now. And for me, which is crazy, I'm okay with that. Because I think we have to get some lifeblood back into the squad. There has to be somebody to take in. We have to be in the running for a top manager this summer. That is period, bar none. If Van Gaal turns this around and we win the league, okay, maybe he could stay in the last year, but the problem is if he's only staying for 1 more year, why are we missing out on a manager who might stay further? You got Pep, 4 years at Barca, amazing trophies, took a year off, joined Bayern, he's won trophies there. I wouldn't be surprised to see him take another year off and be ready the following season. Now, maybe that's following with United's timeline. They want Van Gaal to stay his full contract, and then Pep's going to come in. But if you follow the rumors and you see how things are going, I think the most important thing is who do you want leading your team going forward? If it's Giggs, great. Then you're going to give it to him, and we've already got that all set up. If it's Pep, if it's Ancelotti, if you're trying to reach some of these other managers who may give you another 4 or 5 years for somebody like Ryan Giggs to go out, or maybe Gary Neville tears it up at Valencia and they want to bring him back later on. But in the end, I think it's frustrating that not only the fans, but it seems like the players have completely just given up and there's no hope. And when you don't have any of that, it's time to go. Listen, Liverpool could have stuck with Brendan Rodgers, but they made a change because somebody was available that was right. Do we make a change for LVG out now or wait? That's probably the bigger question for me. But I don't think any question remains. LVG has to go. For me, sooner, let's get it started. Let's get somebody in who's going to try and fire back up the players and get ready for next year. Top 4 is a must, and I think we could do that with Ryan Giggs. In the long run, something's got to change.
Huzzy, you, last but certainly not least, you sat here, you listened to 2 opinions of the out, 1 opinion of the in. You heard Nate there talking that he kind of wants to get this process going of, maybe getting LVG out, getting something fresh and new going on, and he thinks Ryan Giggs can get top 4. Respond to anything you've heard from the previous 3, and then add to it, do you think Giggs with the current squad could get top 4?
I'm LVG in, and I don't believe in sacking a manager halfway through the season. No, unless they're doing really, really bad. Like, if I was a Chelsea fan right now, I'd still want Mourinho in because of what's he done in the past, and he seems like a blip for them. So with me, it's we're on. I think the next game is the 17th game, so we're nearly halfway through the season. I don't believe in sacking him, even though the squad morale looks really low. There's no life in them. They look sick of playing football. I still think we can keep LVG there. We saw that last season. He just pumped life in suddenly into the squad, and we went on a really good run, beating Spurs, Man City, and I think he can do something like that again. But he said he needs 3 years to really build it how he wants, so I think he deserves that, or if not that, at least 2. But just not sacking him halfway through the season, because if we did sack him now, who's actually available, as previously said? Even after his reign ends, I still don't want Giggs to come in charge because he has no managerial experience. He came in for 4 games last season. That's not enough, and I just think we'll wait to see what LVG can do. We're just on a bad run of form right now. He has made a massive mistake in sending out so many players and not bringing enough replacements. Van Persie went, Hernandez went, and in Moyes, at the end of Moyes' season, we lost so much experience in our defence, and that wasn't replaced. He brought in all the players he's brought in. Only one of them has Premier League experience, and that is a much Premier League experience with Luke Shaw. And he has to come and adapt to the Premier League, and all the players he signed have to adapt to the Premier League. And I think for his first season, he did alright, top 4. We got into the Champions League. We're out of it now, but if he can progress above the top 4, maybe top 3, and the FA Cup, maybe, I think he does deserve his time because if you look at what Fergie did when he came in charge at Manchester United, for 6 years, everyone was in doubt. Is he going to be good for our club? Is he not? He stayed, and look what's happened. So I believe just keep him to the end of this season at least.
I know I'm supposed to remain neutral, but somebody asked me in the comments, and I responded, yeah, I am LVG in till the end of the season, and then you can reassess it. Obviously, Pep Guardiola and Carlo Ancelotti, for me, like was stated earlier, Nate had said it, if you guys got a year left on his contract, you can't pass that up because I think that the shape of European football for the next 4 or 5 years is going to be determined by this summer's managerial openings. If you see Pep Guardiola go to City, you're going to see City turn into an absolute juggernaut. City have that academy, they have the players, but they don't have a manager with the balls to play those younger players and to get the best out of them. And I think Pep Guardiola could do that. And then also, the facilities there are incredible. I've seen the pictures, I've seen some videos. So that does worry me. And if Ancelotti goes to Bayern, you're just going to see a continuation of the Bayern dominance, semifinal after semifinal after final after German Bundesliga. So I think it is very important that we don't miss out on one of those managers. But Sean, I'm going to play devil. I'm going to play the opposite. How would you rate the starting 11 at United now? Do you think the starting 11 right now is good enough to challenge for the league?
No.
Starting 11 only.
this is just my opinion.
No, that's fine.
I think that, like, I just don't think that City's going to win the league. That's just, I mean, as soon as Aguero gets healthy, if he can stay healthy for thing, I mean, Leicester City's not going to win the league. City's going to win the league. They got the best team. But, maybe Arsenal, but they'll have injuries or whatever. But, I just think that the starting 11 for United is probably third, fourth, fifth best team. To be honest with you, I mean, if people are still saying, hey, we're 3 points off the top, or United's 3 points off the top. They're also 3 points out of sixth place, Crystal Palace, and they're Tottenham's got a good team. They've only lost twice. I'm not saying like these teams are going to be able to challenge for the title, but I just think our starting 11, our Manchester United starting 11, is nowhere near as good enough to win the multiple league titles, or maybe 2 and 3 years, or the champion. I mean, obviously they can't win the Champions League. They can't even progress out of it.
I don't think any English team right now can win the Champions League.
No, the league is down, and it's not even that the league is down. I mean, I just said, like, I got back from Portugal. I mean, you see, the league is set up in Portugal so that Benfica and these teams, progress. They play. They play their games on Fridays when they have Champions League games, and they do that in the French league and the German league. If they have games on Friday, they move the games to Fridays, so the league is set up so that these teams succeed in there. But it's so balanced. There's so many good teams, and there's so much money in the league. These guys can go out and spend money. I mean, when Leicester City sells, Mahrez in the summertime, when they get $30 million for him, they're going to be able to go out and buy 3 players and plug 3 players into this team. That's pretty good. It's already pretty good. I mean, I just think that this team, the United team, that they're better off, instead of playing, Ashley Young and Michael Carrick and these guys, they're better off seeing if, this kid Gribben can play, Fosu Mensah can play. If these, I mean, they've started to do it. I mean, you see, like, they're talking about Powell playing this weekend. They're trying to see if these guys can play. I would rather take the rest of the season and see if these guys can play and play in these big games and see if they can, be a United player. And instead of sending them out, I would bring Wilson back and see if he can play. You give him an extended run, see if these guys can play. Because if they can't, then you get rid of them. If they can, then that's one less player that you have to pick up in the summer. But right now, I mean, their midfield, they got, a 31-year-old, and, Morgan Schneiderlin's a beast. So, let's not talk about, I mean, he's a monster. But he doesn't play Herrera. Mata's almost 30. Rooney's a disaster. He can't stay healthy or whatever's wrong with him. I mean, you hear all kinds of stuff, but, like, he's got all kinds of issues right now. The defense, Phil Jones can never stay healthy. He's a sick note. He gets to the team, he looks good next to Smalling, and the next thing you know, he's out for 2 months. I mean, at some point, I mean, he's got some talent, but you got to ship him on because he's never going to be healthy. He's just one of these guys. I mean, you see it in every.
No, I do agree. I think that the sentiments about Jones, it's time is up.
Yeah.
Time's up for me. He can't stay healthy. He's proven that.
He's a good player when he's healthy.
Yeah, he's a good player. But if you want to keep him, you keep him.
But it's the same thing with Jack Wilshere at Arsenal. I mean, the Arsenal fans love him, but he's never healthy. And I mean, you can't have same thing. I mean, Marcus Rojo. He's this is 2 years now. He's always injured, and it's the way they play. I mean, the way they play. I mean, his training had come into it because with the muscles and stuff. We were having this discussion on Twitter the other day. But Rojo and Jones play out of control sometimes, and that has to do with their injuries a lot. But if they can't stay healthy, how can you keep them in the team? I mean, you've got to find somebody. You can't keep rotating the defense. I mean, that was the problem last year. I mean, Darmian's a pretty good player. He's okay. I mean, Daley Blind, they got to figure out. I'd actually put Daley Blind in midfield a little bit because
Daley Blind is John O'Shea 2.0.
I mean, play him. I would actually put him. Give him a little run in midfield. See if he can play. Because he's a good passer of the ball, and you see he makes these passes. But it's just they have too many holes, and they have too many Antonio Valencia, he's got to go. Ashley Young, he's getting old. I mean, they have too many guys that aren't elite players. And when you look at them compared to Look at the teams in Europe right now. Look at PSG. Look at Barcelona. Look at Bayern Munich. Look at Real Madrid. They're miles behind those teams. And they won't, like, they're so far away from being a top team in Europe. And that's the thing. I mean, if you're that far away from being a top team in Europe, how can you compete in the league? Because I mean, City's by far. I mean, they're the favorite from all the English teams to go on the deepest run. I mean, City's miles. City's academy miles ahead. I mean, you just saw that tweet I just sent out. I mean, Manchester United has to revamp. You see the U18 team get smoked every time they go out there. I mean, they have to change some stuff. They got to start changing this stuff because I'll tell you what. If Guardiola goes to City in 5 years from now, City's going to be so far ahead of Manchester United. You're not going to be. It's going to take 10 years to catch them. A decade minimum. It's crazy stuff. That's why this is so important right now that they make the right decision. If they're going to stick with him, they better be sure that that's the right thing. And it just, from everything you read, it just doesn't sound like it is.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think the starting 11 is nearly as bad as you think it is, or make it out to be. I don't think it's that far off even. I think you look at, when and I did say when healthy, you're looking at, I think minimum you add 3 players to just the starting 11. I mean, 3 players is a lot, and I'm not talking about scrubs. I'm talking about quality players. You have Luke Shaw, who before his injury was one of the best players, at his position in Europe, I believe. Chris Smalling playing great. David De Gea. Darmian has shown that he can defend. Going forward, he leaves a little bit to be desired. But I think you look at Schneiderlin and Schweinsteiger, they provide a good base. I agree with you on Schneiderlin. I think he's an absolute must-start every game. And I also think Herrera is a must-start every game. I think it's time to either play Juan Mata in the number 10 role, which we've been seeing lately due to injuries, or I think it's time for him to either come off the bench or go. Because, I just don't think him playing out on the right is good enough. I think once, we know what Memphis can do. I think Memphis out wide on the left, he was one of the best players in Europe, scored the most free kick goals in Europe, and I think you get a proven goal scorer up front. So if you get a right winger who can score, a proven goal scorer, and an elite center back, I think you can win the league no problem. I think City are aging. I think they're going to find themselves in a position that we found ourselves where they had to replace a lot of their older players in a few seasons, and I think they're going to struggle to do that. So Pasha left, so I'm going to take the, I think no matter what, whether you're LVG in or out, I think that the foundations have been laid for the next manager. And I completely agree with Sean. I completely agree with Nate. I think that the next manager hire is crucial and that you cannot pass up a Guardiola or an Ancelotti. Now, if top 4 looks like, it's, out of reach or starting to slip away, yeah, he's got to go. You got to freshen it up. But, Nate, explain to me what Everton away was this year and what that run was, because I can't understand what it was. Was that LVG saying, go out and attack? Was that him finding the perfect, lightning in a bottle? What the fuck was last spring, and even Everton away most recently, what was that? Because, I was listening to the BBC Red Wednesday podcast today, and they said, the team plays so defensive because they have to, because they're not good enough to play attacking football and defend. I'm kind of going, for 2 things here. So we'll talk about, what last spring was and what Everton was. Then also, is it just, maybe this team isn't good enough to attack and defend? We've seen that. When they had to go attack Wolfsburg, they gave up 3 goals. Is this team, and I understand that maybe that's on Ben Hall not buying the players that he should have bought, the center back I've been talking about, the goal scorer. Explain that. I know that's a lot, but make sense of what I just blurted out at you.
I got you. So let's start with last spring. Last spring was fascinating because last year we saw a lot of what we're seeing now. It was pretty similar. Obviously, we started the season off really badly, barely had any points after 10 matches, and then we started picking up, went on a great run for a few months, and we didn't play amazing football during that run, but we got results, and so that was a huge deal, getting results, and it put us in a better position when we came up against that Tottenham match, the City match, the Liverpool match. I think Louis van Gaal caught lightning in a bottle. I think he changed his squad a bit. I think his 4-3-3 or the 4-1-3-1 or whatever that one is, kind of that diamond in the middle, when he kind of switched it, I think he gave players room to actually perform. We got in behind the defense. We scored some goals. And I don't think that was – I mean, depends on who you read what Louis van Gaal's preferred system is. But in the end, it seems like he's done what he's had to do with the tools he's had to work with. Now, whether that's Woodward or Van Gaal or a mixture of the two, that they haven't been able to actually come together and get the players that's needed. Van Gaal, rumors, I've never seen anything from him personally, but the rumors are he likes a small squad, which I can understand. Listen, small squad, I trust these guys. They're going to have a lot of work to do. But you have a small squad, double training sessions. This is not German football or Spanish football. This is English football. It's cold. It's fast-paced. It's hard tackling, and there's lots of matches. We don't get a spring break. We've got tons of cups. And at Manchester United, you're right. We fucking expect the whole world, plus on top of that, whatever you want to add. So for Van Gaal to kind of catch fire, I think, at the end of last season, I think that saved him coming into this year. Yeah, it was his first year. The Moyes thing was so bad that gave him some extra time. But now, actually, I think we're seeing more about some of the shortcomings in the front office and in the club overall. I agree with Sean. City has passed us up, and that's really hard for me to stomach. Even saying it now, I just feel a rock in my stomach when I say it. But it's true. They've passed us up, not only with player acquisitions, but in plans overall. Yeah, they don't get fans that come to their matches. They're expanding their stadium for whatever fucking reason. Who knows? But they are, and they're growing because they've got a great plan. I did say in my preview video last week that I thought the problem that United should pursue, and I think it would fix the issues with player acquisitions, how we're playing on the pitch, a lot of it, is a director of football. I'm not sure Ed Woodward, even though he might want that position and he's been asked to by the managers to cover that position, I don't think that's his best role. He's obviously a businessman and is amazing at it. But I think when it comes to buying players, understanding football, making football decisions, I think he falls woefully short. And not only that, if we had a director of football, then you've got somebody who's only thinking about the football. They're looking at the pitch. They're looking at the manager. They're doing all of this stuff. And the board's not left to try and make not only footballing decisions, but business decisions. And I think it clears up a lot of stuff. Will that happen? I don't know. Do the Glazers want to pay another guy $1 million a year to make footballing decisions? Who knows? But for what we saw at the end of last spring, if you kind of put that all, if you were to back up, look at the big picture, I think what you're seeing is Louis van Gaal is stuck using what he has the best way he knows how. But the problem is he's lost his dress. He's lost the players. His captain and co-captain came to him saying, listen, the football needs to change. It's dire. We're really frustrated. And when you lose them, I don't see it turning around. Yeah, it would be great if he could stay on. If he could flip this whole thing around, we could go on a run of wins and put ourselves up at the top. I mean, we were in first place at the end of September. We were 1 point out of first place at the end of November. And now we're 3 points back. And like Sean said, another loss and a couple of wins by the teams under us, suddenly we're in 6th or 7th place. And things are looking really dire. And the opposite is true. A couple of losses by the teams in front of us, and we're back in front. But right now we're 6 points out of first place. And we were 1 point out only a few weeks ago. Things are not going better. They're getting worse. And so for Van Gaal to fix issues, defense, midfield, all of this stuff, yeah, we've got our opinions, who should be playing where. There are players that should be playing every week. But in the end, it starts up front. And if Van Gaal's the man, I'm going to take a sick day and just mourn for a while, because I just don't see how he's going to flip things around completely the way that it should be. I hope he can. I don't want to fire a manager midseason. I think that's one of the worst things you can do. But at this point, it seems like we need a jump start. We need an awakening. And the only thing I think that could happen is if LVG were to come in and say, listen, I've lost the players. I don't know what's going on exactly. I've done everything I can. I think the best thing is if I step down. If he did that, he'd get mad respect. I'd write a blog just for him and post a video just for him saying how much I love him for that. But moving forward, we have to be focused on who is out there and available, because Van Gaal's timetable of 3 years and Pep leaving and Ancelotti available, that they're not working right now. They're not meshing, so a decision has to be made. The football's dire. And I think the football being dire, it could change. But I think right now it's like sickness. It's the symptoms now. We're finally getting to some of the root issues of front office and player acquisitions and training, overtraining, injuries. And all that's left now for us is for us to step up and say, all right, what is our decision going to be? I wish he could stay, but he's got to go.
Hey, Joey. ESPN FC right now is talking about Van Gaal. It's live on ESPN News. Raphael Harnison is talking about this. They're talking about this exact thing right now as we speak. LVG out.
Yeah, listen, I think that no matter what, everyone's going to talk about it, and I think ESPN are not as credible as everybody thinks they are. I think they're more along the tabloid-esque, you know. I record that show every day, and you know, they're going to talk about what sells. Controversy sells. Nobody wants to hear somebody talk about, you know, nice things. You know, Abby Wambach's retiring, you know, for the U.S. guys here, and all they can do is focus on something that she said about people who aren't Americans or the men's team. They don't focus on her career. They don't focus. I mean, that's just a media thing. I fucking hate the media. You know, but it is a hot topic. Don't get me wrong. You know, when you want to be the biggest club in the world, people are going to talk about you every day. You know, to add on to what Nate said, I don't think LVG will step down. I think he's too stubborn. I think that LVG you know, his stubbornness will be the death of him, because if he does not change, he will go, and he will go without trophies in his last job. So I think that, I don't know if somebody's going to fucking smack him upside the head and it's just going to click one day or what. However, I completely agree with the football director thing. I think Ed Woodward does a really good job of the business side of things. However, I think that when it comes to buying players, he's shown an ability to buy players, but he's also shown an ability to suck at negotiating. You know, when you pay that much for Fellaini when you could have got him 3 weeks earlier for like $7-8 million cheaper, or you know, pounds cheaper, I think that says something. I mean, that goes into the planning. I do agree with that. Huzzy, how would you rate the starting 11? And if Van Gaal were to be sacked this week, how would your time, you know, how would we look at him in 5 years' time? You know, will we look back and say, damn, you know, Van Gaal really did do a pretty damn good job of getting the dead wood out and laying the foundation? Or would we say, man, that fucking guy wasted fucking all that money. We could have had, you know, whoever, what player, and instead we got Ashley Young and, you know, we got Morgan Schneiderlin or whoever. And then on top of that, do you think that football director is something that the club should be looking at?
Firstly, with the starting 11, I think starting from the back, it starts off very strong and it gets quite weak. When we get to the final third, I don't think we have enough quality there. Mata on the right wing, I prefer to see pacey wingers. We've got Memphis on the left, who needs to adapt to the Premier League, and usually we have Rooney in the number 10 or Martial with Rooney up front. I don't think I'm very happy with the team. It's just those front four that I'm a bit not sure about. I'd like to see Mata moved into the number 10, but then if you do that, then where do you fit in Herrera? And it'd be good if we could have Mata and Herrera in the preferred positions, but you see, we are creating chances now, but we don't have the quality to finish them. So I say if we could add maybe 2 or 3 players, good quality players, we could easily be challenging for the title. I've heard Gary Neville say the same thing as well. He says that we just need one lethal finisher up front and we'll be challenging for the title. And I agree with him. Like Matt on the wing, yeah, he's done a good job there, but I prefer 2 pacey wingers. I'm sure Memphis will come good. I'm sure he'll be the pacey winger that we're looking for. But then on the other wing, you got Mata, he can't run at all, and you know, Ander Herrera, he deserves to be in the starting 11. And if he does end up going because he's not getting the time at Manchester United, it will be sad because he's a quality player. He can be world class, and if LVG does get sacked this week, it depends on who takes over next, so we can see. That's how people will judge how he's done. If Giggs takes over, I reckon he won't do that well, and then people will think, oh, LVG didn't do a good enough job in the first place. But if we get someone like Carlo Ancelotti and he does good, some people will give credit to LVG, because I think he's done a very good job because he picked up a squad that finished 7th. Their confidence was really low, and they lost a wealth of experience at the back, and he had to pick up the players and, you know, rebuild the squad. It was his first time in the Premier League, and he managed to get top 4. And during that season, he picked up some incredible wins. We only lost to Man City from the top teams, 1-0 at the Etihad. And even in that game, we were the better team, I believe. I think LVG he's done a great job, and I think people are making things worse than they actually are. Because, as I said, if we just had 2 quality players up front, we could easily be challenging for the league.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, you know, it is easy to say that, and I do agree, and it's hard because strikers aren't like, you know, a dime, you know, they're a dime a dozen. You can't really just go out there every summer and say, I want this player, Benzema or Aguero or Lewandowski or whoever you have in your head, Suarez. They have to want to join, and you have to make them want to join your club. So, Pastor, I think you've been sitting back. You've heard everything everyone's had to say. We're going to wrap this up in the next 10 minutes because this has gone on longer than I expected, but that's good because it's good to get out and talk about it. And you're doing good points on both sides. I do agree with Huzzy, though. I think that people make it way worse than it really is. I don't think it's as bad as everyone is making it out to be. I think what we're seeing is injuries. How many injuries to the starting 11? Now, yeah, that could be down to the way they train and overtraining them. And it could just be down to these players being frail. Like you said, Rojo and Jones, the way they play. I think that, going back to what I was saying about Jones, I think you can buy an elite center back and still keep Jones. That is a possibility, and I don't understand why they didn't do that. You look at some of the title-winning squads, you have 3 or 4 quality center backs. So I think that was a mistake going in with a shorter squad. But I do think that the future is very bright. I think that whether LVG is the man to take that forward and win a title in the next year or two, we'll have to see. So, Pastor, respond to anything you've heard. I want you to discuss more because I know you're pretty passionate about LVG and the job he's done so far. And you got to unmute yourself there, homie.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah. What I was trying to say was that every single team under David Moyes would come at Old Trafford, or if we played away, they would beat us single-handedly. They didn't even care. With that, no, the respect was gone. Now he's restored that, to be honest, and to a certain extent, Louis van Gaal. So you could see against Manchester City, they came at Old Trafford. They were just playing for the draw. So he's making Old Trafford, in a sense, back to the fortress. Gaining our respect back, in a sense that we're getting bottled every single time. And you say Moyes. And one thing I do want to say is that with the amount of injuries we've had, and if this guy was not willing to give youth a chance, do you know what league position will be win by now? This is my point, is that he gives youngsters a chance. You don't see that with a lot of these managers these days. Pep Guardiola, maybe to a certain extent, but what I do want to say is that this man, with the amount of players he's brought into the past, Xavi, Iniesta, Thomas Müller, all these great players and all these foundations that he's left for Barcelona and Bayern Munich were to a certain extent, and those same fans would tell you these days that they were in our same shoes. Louis van Gaal, he's so boring. I mean, what the hell is he doing with his stubbornness and stuff? But then when he leaves, I think he's like a president, right? That during his reign, right, we all trying to say that he sucks. Who the hell is this guy? But until he leaves, we see that he left something for us. We see in the future, right? I think that's Louis van Gaal's basically career that he's always been. That he's one stubborn old Dutch guy, right? That doesn't care, but he leaves you something, and he goes, okay, hate me for now, but in the future you see that, oh wow, thank you, because to be honest, a lot of these signings we did, it came down to him, because Memphis Depay was honestly gonna go to PSG. If it wasn't for him, Bastian Schweinsteiger wasn't gonna come to United, and think about it, these are great, and he's been such a great mentor for Memphis Depay, Bastian Schweinsteiger. So what I'm trying to say is that, yes, obviously Louis van Gaal's out. You could have your opinion, but my point is that you can't say you should just immediately should be out, because we need a replacement for him, a proper one right now. But if Pep Guardiola is around during summer, of course it'll be crazy that we don't go for him and we just rely on Ryan Giggs, or say that, okay, bye Louis van Gaal, we're gonna stick with Giggsy. So I just think that the moral philosophy is that we need to shy away from the whole thing that, oh, this is what Sir Alex Ferguson did. Oh, this is what the United way, because when the time goes forward, not a lot of managers are going to get in the future after Pep Guardiola, whoever is going to be our manager, they're going to play the United way. Those good old times. Football is changing year after year after year. Look at the TV rights. Look at all these mid-table teams. Shoot, they've been absolutely fantastic. So the game changes frequently, especially in England. So my point is going to say is that every team has a drop in form. Ours has been awful. But I think that with the manager he is right now, with the chance he's given to youth, at least we're not in a bad position, because he's giving youth a chance to show themselves, right? And to be honest, I think that I won't be happy if we're going to still be fourth, but I still think that if we challenge for the title at least, and hopefully win a trophy, if that's the FA Cup, fine. That's what I expected from him. But my point is that I can't be LVG out because there's no replacement for him, right? As of this now, right? It will be back to square one. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I think if you look at the foundations laid, I mean, I agree mostly, with everything you've said. I don't think it's as bad as, what we're saying. And I think it's, people, I understand that United is a club that has been built on the backs of Sir Alex Ferguson, Sir Matt Busby, attacking football, and that's, engraved in your DNA. It's how you identify when you think, when you see that badge, or when you even just hear the words Manchester United, you think of, the great teams they've had and the attacking style. But those are the highlights of it. I think, Sir Alex Ferguson didn't always play great, exciting attacking football. It's okay if a year or two it takes to get back to where you want to be.
Really, one second. We came back 26 times on his last year when somebody else was leading us.
We were horrible his last year.
His last 2 years, no United way. But yeah, exactly. What I'm trying to say is that, okay, yeah, exactly. But what my point is that this all goes back to the previous time Sir Alex didn't spend, because of his brilliance, or because he just thought that the Glazers were hiding behind him. So it's all these problems go back to that time. I'm not blaming Sir Alex Ferguson. I'm not doing that, but I'm just saying that,
Damn you for being such a good manager. You could win with shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, you think Pep Guardiola and Carlo Ancelotti would fucking have Tom Cleverley and Anderson in their center midfield? Shit, no, man. Not even in the Iranian league will we won those fuckers. But my point stays is that the football changes, so we can't just. I just don't think the whole LVG out spill is that if Carlo Ancelotti wants a job, fuck yeah, I would like Carlo over LVG. But my point is that we can't just say, hey, LVG out, just sack him, sack him for who?
Yeah, I agree. So we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to ask the panel the same question. If you've been watching the video, if you could, please put a like on the video, subscribe to my channel. I'm supposed to be doing work with another channel in the coming weeks, so be on the lookout for that. Follow me on Twitter. I'll put everybody's Twitter links in the description. So we know Sean and Nate are LVG out, and we know the other two are LVG in. So I want to ask Sean, what would make you be LVG in? Is there anything?
No.
There's not a. Say he comes out and wins the next 6 games.
It's gonna happen.
But we're playing hypothetical, so you have to play along here.
I mean, I
understand. I understand you don't think it's gonna happen. But say last spring happened, this winter and into the spring, and United challenged for the title and won the FA Cup. You can't sack a manager that challenged for the title and won the FA Cup, can you?
I mean, I am more about, like, just when you hear the stuff that's coming from the camp. I mean, like they're saying, when you have the players openly questioning you, like going to, and it's coming out in the media, so that means they're leaking it to the media. When the players start openly questioning you and thing, it's just you have your position is untenable in any sport. I just don't think, like, it's just not gonna get, like, once the players start doing that, like, it doesn't get better. Like, it doesn't go back to, like, oh, yeah, okay, now it's good. Like, once the players start questioning you, it's not going to get any better. It's only just going to get worse. It's just going to deteriorate and deteriorate and deteriorate. And it's just going to get to the point. And this is the same reason why Mourinho always stays at one job for, like, 3 years. Because that third year, it just can't, like, you can see it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. I just don't think there's any way back at this point. It's like you can't put the stuff back in the bag at this point. I mean, it's already out, and and hypothetically, I mean, I guess they could do it, but I just don't believe that they will. I actually think there's a better chance this team finishes in 5th place than they do finishes first. That's just my personal opinion. I mean, there's too many injuries, and I'd actually, honestly, at this point, I know they're gonna, at some point, when they go in the Europa League, I hope they just play all under 25 kids. I don't want to see Ashley Young in these games. I don't want to see Valencia in these games. Let the kids play, see if they can play. Nick Powell, Twinzibi, Fosu Mensah, all these kids, let them play. Let them see if they can play. And, if he does that and starts letting these kids, and not just kids here and there, but gives them games and gives them some games and just builds for that and doesn't worry about winning a title at some point and just builds for the future, then maybe I'll say, okay, all right, at least he's doing that there. But I mean, this other stuff.
Well, I think he will. I think he'll play the kids. I think he'll play a mixture. I don't think it'll be all kids. But we also have to remember, Memphis Depay's a kid, and Herrera's considered a kid.
I would just play all. When you go to Europe, I wouldn't even say I wouldn't play Schweinsteiger. I wouldn't play anybody over a certain. I just say, look, I'm just gonna let.
Hey, just say you want to get us relegated. That's what.
I said
about the Europa League.
It's not Europa League.
No, I know you're talking about Europa League, but the thing is,
they're not going to get relegated, but what's the point? They're not winning the title either. This team, there's no chance this team wins the title. No,
I know. The funny.
I don't know. I think that with the right buy, I know that's this is.
They're not giving this guy any more money. There's no way.
There's plenty of money. I don't think money's the problem, and I think they will give him money. I think they will back him.
If the players are revolting like they're saying they are, they're not going to give this guy another.
But for every player revolting article, there's a player coming out and saying it's fine. So I mean, that's just two ends of the spectrum. I mean, there is going to be a balance. Some players probably don't like him. I can guarantee that, but I don't think it's on the level Moyes was.
One of the problems they said today was if you're going to go give this guy money and this guy is going to be gone in a year and a half. Are you going to give him money for his style and then hire somebody else? And, if someone else is coming in, say it's, even if it's Giggs and Giggs wants to play attacking style, are you going to give this guy $150 million to spend to build a team so that he can win games 1-0 and then turn around?
No, because I don't think he wants to win games 1-0. I just think that's what he's looking at. I think what Van Gaal does very good is he went to that Dutch team, adopted the three at the back, and he played a counterattack.
Yeah, can I say one thing?
I think that I don't think players can only play one style, so I think that that's kind of something I wouldn't agree with that. I think Herrera can play possession. I think Herrera can play counterattacking.
He doesn't play Herrera.
He will. He has been. I mean, he played him more recently, and he played him in number 10. So, Pasha, we're gonna get. This could keep going for hours, so I want to wrap it up. Pasha, say what you have to say, and then.
I was gonna say it's not always about money. How many years did it take Real Madrid with the money they spent to win a Champions League?
Oh, you look at the money that Real Madrid has spent, and the trophy return
My point is that everything is gonna take time. But unfortunately, as fans and watching this game, we can't take it, right? We're like, fucking needs to change. But at some point, we got to realize that we're still in a process, according to Louis Van Gaal. That's what when he says process, or we shall, the word shall he always uses. But
his English, I don't think, is good enough. So
no, that's why even my roommate, Nick, he's a PSC fan, he says that a lot of the stuff he says, people think that he's saying something else, but in reality, it's different dialogue, right?
His philosophy isn't just how he plays, it's how he addresses his team. It's how the trainers train. It's how it's everything. So instead of saying
philosophy,
everything,
he asks you if you're shagging your wife after practice. That's part of his philosophy. He wants you to know what you're doing after when you leave the practice and stuff. But my point is that if we miss out on Pep Guardiola, right? Well, just to let you guys know, and as Ryan Giggs, we're gonna be. I'm not gonna watch the next season.
Yes, we will.
I'm just kidding, of course not. But yeah.
I think Pep Guardiola is a little bit of a romantic, and I think that he would choose United any day over City. I think that
he would if we go in for him. The problem is the board. I think the board is.
I have bold predictions. I still think Ancelotti will be signed, and I think Ronaldo has openly spoke about his desire to play for Ancelotti. So, Nate, real short, if LVG, if spring happens again and they challenge for the trophy, could you be persuaded, long story short, to be LVG? All right, I'll deal with you for another year.
No, not at all. I think at this summer he's got to go just because of the way the landscape of football looks right now.
Even if Pep Guardiola said, I'll wait a year, you had a pre-contract agreement with Guardiola.
Well, you keep adding things to our hypothetical.
Because I want to know how much it will take for you to be LVG okay. That's what I'm trying to get at.
I would be LVG in for another year and a half if Pep Guardiola came out and said, I'm the next Manchester United manager starting in the summer of 2017. I would be LVG in. Until that happens, which is not going to, I just think it's time to move on.
That's all right.
I'd actually rather give it to Giggs at that point. Say, get rid of him and let Giggs manage the team for years.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too bad. I don't think LVG's got.
I think Sean's got one of those voodoo dolls in his bedroom and he's poking it.
It's a good idea. I might have to make one. I should have bought one in Portugal.
Huzzy, I think you'd stick with LVG no matter what, unless top 4 was out of the picture. So if there's anything you want to add to anything that's been said, Huzzy, now's your chance. Speak whatever you want.
Yeah, I think LVG he's building a football juggernaut here. We're hard to beat. Now, if we just get that lethal finish out front, I think we'll be challenging for the league. You stick behind the manager. I stuck behind Moyes to the final day. I think we all should, and hopefully we'll be, winning the trophy and getting top 4 again this season.
Yeah, I mean, I stuck with Moyes for quite a while, and then I think, I always wanted him to turn it around. However, I didn't think he would, and at that point I wanted him going, but I'm not going to ever, I agree with what you say, I think for me, when there'll be a time for me when I realize it's time for, in my opinion, LVG to go. My problem with Moyes was I just thought tactically he wasn't good enough, and I think that's the truth. I just thought this guy can't put a game plan together and get his players motivated enough.
At least we know what we were playing under Louis van Gaal. Under David Moyes, I don't know what we were playing.
Yeah, with Moyes, it was 1 week a million crosses. The next week it was I want you to keep passing the ball, and the players. That's another thing. David Moyes stood no chance no matter what because he didn't clear out the players that needed to be cleared out right away. I think that's something LVG has done. But that is a topic for another discussion. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends.
Thank you.
What?
And he gave Rooney the damn captaincy.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. Look, Rooney's probably talking on his second step right now. Step work at AA. So
Vidic was captain for Moyes. It was Ben Hall who gave it to Rooney if you want to go in.
Another reason to get rid of him.
Everyone, look out for more videos. I'll have a preview up tomorrow. Thank you for watching.
All right.